tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television, for the week of July 18th to July 24th, 2015.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Brent Barrett.
I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And a couple things to get out of the way before we get started. One, we are closing down our current poll asking you, what do you think of DC's decision not to use the TV actors who popularized some of the characters in the upcoming movies? And still, the big winner is it's a dumb move. Consistency would be best, followed up by I don't know what to think yet, and I don't care and never will. The only people who think it's a good idea is still down at 7%. So you guys have restored my faith in you.
Yeah, we do love staying with the people we already know. Isn't that familiarity thing?
Yeah, I'm really hoping they're going to bust out of this mold, though, with the Green Arrow, once we get a Green Arrow.
I hope so, too, but who knows. All right, we are going to have a new poll soon, so definitely by the time you hear this, go check it out. It will be up there. And a reminder, we are, for one more week, if you're hearing this, you've only got a couple of days, probably, if you're hearing it when it comes out, to win a gift card or money for Netflix, basically. So we want to try to get you a Netflix subscription, or if you already have one, to enhance your subscription. Listen to the water cooler for the code phrase. And like I said, the entry deadline is the end of the week that this podcast comes out. So hurry up.
More cool goodies, folks.
Yeah, Netflix is just a good thing.
It's good, as Kevin would say.
It's really good. Really good.
All right, moving on over to the spoiler-free water cooler.
My name is Justin McCumber. I'm the creator and one of the co-hosts for the Dead Robots Society podcast. Every week we discuss a variety of topics that are fundamental to the craft of writing, from the differences between tone and theme, to world building, to how to create compelling antagonists. Along with the roundtable discussions, we've also had the pleasure of interviewing published authors, television writers, podcast luminaries, publishing house founders, and magazine editors. We're dedicated to our listeners, and we work hard to pack our episodes with as much quality education and entertainment as possible. We never stop encouraging ourselves and our listeners to always be writing and to always be improving. The promised land of publication is our goal, and we know that together we can achieve it. If we can also have a good laugh along the way, all the better. You can find us online at www.deadrobotssociety.com. At our website, you'll find show notes, links to our personal sites, our email address, and direct download links to our episodes. You'll also find a link to our forums, where we've created a private critique group so that you can safely post your work and get comments and suggestions from us as well as our listeners. All we ask is that you participate by critiquing in return. So come to our site, subscribe to our show, and join us. You can also find us at iTunes. Just search for Dead Robots and we'll be there. After that, get writing. We are.
First up on the water cooler, the quick reviews. Watch it now, watch it soon, let us sit on the DVR. You can skip it for the shows that were on last week. First up, we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, episode 6 of series/season 1, chapter 6, The Black Tower. I'd give it a high end watch it soon.
Not what I'm watching.
I would even go low watch it now.
Yeah, I was teetering on that. Moving to Sunday the 19th, we have Beauty and the Beast, episode 7 of season 3. Both sides now. I am not currently watching.
Neither am I.
Yeah, this is watch it sometime, eventually.
All right, I think that's a let it sit low.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is then.
All right, also we have Falling Skies, episode 4 of season 5, the final season. A Pope Breaks Bad. I am starting to get frustrated with the show again. Low and watch it soon, though.
Not on my schedule.
Yeah, a show breaks bad here. I would agree, low watch it sometime.
Ooh, that's a low let it sit again.
Yeah, I would actually say that for this one.
Awesome, all right. We have Humans, episode 4 of series 1, which is episode 1.4. And one of the highlights of the week for me, watch it now.
I would go very high watch it soon.
I agree, watch it now.
And we have The Last Ship, episode 6 of season 2, Long Day's Journey. It's kind of in a slow patch for me right now. I'd say watch it soon, though.
Yeah, I'll watch it soon.
Oh, I would give it a high watch it soon.
Excellent. All right. And The Strain is back for Season 2. This is Episode 2 of Season 2 by any means. I'm still enjoying this pretty much. I'd say high-end watch it soon.
Not what I'm watching.
Yeah, I'm not watching this either.
All right. Moving to Monday the 20th, we have Teen Wolf, Episode 5 of Season 5, A Novel Approach. This show is still schizophrenic. I'd say watch it soon.
Oh, actually, this one is one I greatly enjoyed. I'd give it a high watch it soon.
Oh, I didn't. I would give it a low watch it soon.
Ooh, all right. We have The Whispers, Episode 8 of Season 1, A Hollow Man. I am not currently watching.
Neither am I.
This is still building to a pretty intriguing story. I would say watch it soon.
Good. I'm still collecting them on the DVR, I believe. Moving to the 21st, we have Proof, Episode 6 of Season 1, Private Matters. This is a pretty good one. High-end watch it soon.
Yeah, not one I watch, though.
I don't watch this either.
Okay, and also on MTV, we have Scream, Episode 4 of Season 1, Aftermath. And again, I'm not a big horror fan, but I am watching this for some reason. But this one was only a high-end let it sit.
Yep, you're the only one watching here, though. I didn't see it myself.
Yeah, I'm not watching this either.
And we have Stitchers, ABC Family Show, Episode 8 of Season 1, Fire in the Hall. I'd give it a watch it soon.
Yeah, pretty solid. I might move it up to a high watch it soon.
I'm not watching this.
All right, moving to the 22nd, Wednesday, we have Extant, Episode 4 of Season 2, Cracking the Code. It is definitely a new show than it was Season 1. Low-end, watch it soon.
Not watching myself.
I sort of watched it, but I'm not going to rate it.
Okie dokie. We also have the series finale, not just season finale, of Wayward Pines, Episode 10 of Season 1, or the only season, Cycle. And I would give this one a watch it soon.
Yeah, still haven't watched any of these after the number 5 one.
Yeah, I would agree. Watch it soon.
All right, moving to our last day, which is Friday the 24th, we have Dark Matter, Episode 7 of Season 1, entitled Episode 1.7. I would give it a watch it soon.
Yeah, pretty solid. Watch it soon.
Yeah, go strong watch it soon.
And we have Killjoys, Episode 6 of Season 1, One Blood, and I think for the first time ever since these shows have been on the air, I've given Killjoys a slightly higher rating than Dark Matter. I've given it a high-end watch it soon.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd actually go into the low watch it now.
I would give it a watch it soon.
Okay. We also have Defiance, Episode 8 of Season 3. My name is Detaktar, and I have come to kill you. I really, really enjoyed this. I'd say watch it now.
Same thing here. Very solid. Watch it now.
Yes, I agree. Watch it now.
And we have two more non-broadcast shows to talk about. One is we are rating Sense8, one episode a week, or at least I am. Episode 7 of Season 1, WWN Double D. I would give this one a high-end watch it soon.
Yeah, I still haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I haven't started this yet.
Okay, and also we are watching and rewatching The Almighty Johnsons, Episode 7 of Season 3, Typical Auckland God. And you'll have to look back several months for my rating.
I thought this one was pretty good. I'd say high watch it soon.
Oh, I love this. I would say watch it now.
Cool. All right, well, we got some feedback to share with you before we jump into the articles and links, and that is a voicemail from Scott on Cape Cod. He's going to talk about the Ride or Destination Tuner Minute that we had a while back.
I have a few thoughts about endings. I was one of the few who liked the end of Lost. And even if I didn't, I think the ride along the way would have still been great and still been very much worth it. I thought the ending did have great emotion to it, and I enjoyed it. One finale I wasn't crazy about, though, was Battlestar Galactica. I thought it was okay, but not as epic as I was hoping for. It kind of ended a little bit with a whimper to me. You know, the concept was good. I wasn't crazy about it. But still, BSG was still an awesome show, and I still recommend it to anybody that asks. But recently there have been a couple of shows that sadly only got 1 year, but they stuck to landing so well that I think they were fantastic, and I still recommend them highly. And that's Forever, which I've commented on here and had a beautiful finish. And less recently was Awake, which also had a very moving and wonderfully satisfying ending. So I recommend both of those highly. And the ending increased my appreciation of those shows. I thought the ending made the shows better, even though I enjoyed the ride too, but the ending made it better. I think a great ride is worth it, even if the destination leaves something to be desired. You know, you can always imagine how you have preferred or liked it to end.
Thank you, Scott. Some good thoughts there. I think a lot of folks have very similar approaches on it. It's funny you start asking about this topic, and we all tend to have that one or two shows that we had higher expectations, I think is a good way to look at it, talking about the BSG one maybe for you, than we got. And that's when you tend to, kind of ding it or at least wince a little when you talk about it, as opposed to ones where you just completely hated the ending. So several folks have mentioned that. So it's some good stuff. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I know that a lot of people have, strong feelings about the endings of Lost and BSG, but for both of them, I don't. Lost, I was totally fine with because I was fine with the arc of the characters. And BSG, I was fine that they provided answers and the characters went to a place. Although in that show, where the characters went, I was a little bit more with, but no deal breakers, I guess. For some people, I think there were deal breakers. Totally agree about Forever. That's definitely a season worth of show worth watching. And it made me think of a couple of shows that I would recommend in that category, which would be Winter Falls, which is a, overlooked Brian Fuller show. And Survivors, which was the UK apocalypse show we watched a couple of years ago.
I think that Brian Fuller was Wonder Falls, I think.
Yeah, Wonder.
Oh, it is. What did I say? Winterfell?
Winter.
Yeah, it's because I have too much Game of Thrones on my mind. Yeah, Wonder Falls, thank you.
Yeah, Forever was a good one, and I never really got into Awake, so I can't really comment on that one. And Lost, I never really got into the series to begin with, so I don't really have an opinion on the ending. But Battlestar Galactica, I'm one of the ones who really liked how that show ended. I mean, I consider the last few episodes as one whole to be the ending. And I really enjoyed it, so it's good to know that you're one of them, Scott, that doesn't like it. Just kidding. All right, well, Wendy, you've got some news about Gotham.
Yeah, we've got a proper trailer for Gotham Season 2, and they're promising that things are going south with the villains, and we got some glimpses of how that's going to play out, along with some of the recent casting news. I'm definitely looking forward to where Gotham's going in Season 2.
Very cool. Yeah, I mentioned this before, so I won't repeat the same joke about, let me know when Batman's on the show. But, I hear a lot of good things about Gotham. And it's not like I will probably never, ever check it out. I might at some point in the future kind of mainline it, but I'm still not really on board.
Yeah, I took a look at the trailer, and it, as you said, it's definitely can see where it's got some great stuff coming. It's just not really a show for me, but it's cool because I know a lot of folks, very pleased to see it out.
Yeah, definitely I'm looking forward to it. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't at least one shot of Marina Baccarin. I'm hoping that she, because she is going to be a series regular, I hope she has a meaty role, because her addition in Season 1, I think, was a really big move forward for it.
And she's one of the primary reasons I might mainline this one day. Contest clip time. In your contest entry, tell us what Kimmy Schmidt says she's eating for dinner.
I just want to be a normal person. I'm having candy for dinner.
Okay, moving on. I've got some news about the new Guardians of the Galaxy animated series, which is not safe for Kevin. It's the same animation style as the other Marvel animated shows on Disney XD. We've got a trailer here that we're linking you to. And in my opinion, it's not really the best animation style that I've seen. I think both Young Justice and, DC did it better with Young Justice and the Green Lantern animated series. Both of those styles, which were radically different from each other, were both pretty good. This one premieres in September, and I don't know, I might check it out just to see the tone of the writing, but if it's like the other Marvel animated shows on Disney XD, probably not going to be my cup of tea.
Cool that it's out there.
I like the trailer. I'm probably not going to watch the show. Mostly not because I'm not interested. I just don't think it's going to make it to the list that's going to be jam-packed this fall with shows. But if you do watch it, definitely let me know if it, turns the corner into some of the epic writing in Young Justice or something. I have low hopes that might happen, but if it does, let me know.
Or has one of the great animated romances of all time like Green Lantern did?
Exactly.
All right. Well, Kevin, you've got some news about Lost Girl.
Very cool this week that Showcase, the network that airs the show in Canada, put out a teaser trailer, 30 seconds long, for the Season 5 Part 2, the second set of 8 episodes for the final season here. Now, again, for those of you in the U.S., no details from SciFi on air dates, but the series, the set of 8 episodes will be starting to finish up in Canada Labor Day weekend. So it's one of those mood trailers. You don't have any dialogue from the show. It's a lot of shots of the characters with some music, set behind it. Naturally, about a lot of the pending stuff that deals with the characters and the big storyline. So certainly, if you've seen the first half of season 5, you're fine to see the trailer. But again, we only have the Canadian airing coming, but not the U.S. dates announced. But seeing this, I got to tell you, it is certainly making the end look a lot closer than I thought it was before I saw the trailer.
It was definitely moody, and definitely I'm curious. I hope that they do air it in the U.S. pretty close, if not at the same time as they do in Canada.
Yeah, even if you never watch this link that we give you here to this trailer, this teaser trailer, I think based on Kevin's tone, you can be pretty assured that Kinsey does not appear in it.
Oh, no, she's in there.
Oh, wow.
She's in there very briefly, but she's in there.
Wow.
Very, very briefly. I mean, blink and you miss it.
Yeah, not really much.
Oh, okay, that's why. There wasn't enough Kinsey. I got it.
Yeah.
All right, well, Wendy, you've got some news about The Flash.
Yeah, so the Flash is going to get a new suit. We got a picture, I guess it's the first image of his new suit. I wasn't obviously jumping out at me what was new about the suit. Maybe you guys can tell me. It's still red. He still wears the helmet-y leather thing. Maybe it's the Flash mark itself is a different color. I don't know. It still looks cool. It's not quite as amazing as maybe the changes that were noticeable on the new Arrow suit.
Yeah, I think it's the circle that the lightning bolt is on. Wasn't there before, I think, or something like that.
Or that it's white now?
Yeah, they made a comment about it, didn't they? No spoilers, but in the finale of season 1, they made some kind of comment about the suit and how future Flash had a different suit than he did.
Oh, maybe. That you might be jarring a memory. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, your summary of, it looks cool, Wendy, is kind of my thought, being not a huge Arrow fan. I looked and went, that's kind of nice. But like you said, I couldn't, for the life of me, tell you exactly what was new in it.
Well, it's also because it's backlit, so I was like, and he's not looking in the camera. So sometimes, because I was thinking the part that's on his head might be different, his mask or something, but I don't know. It's murky. Signs are murky.
Check back later.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be another picture soon.
All right. Well, I've got a link to a pretty cool video. It's a behind the scenes, a program called EPN went on the set of Continuum season 4, and they were talking to the main cast as well as Simon Barry about the final episode of Continuum as they were shooting a scene on a rooftop. So I don't think there's really any great spoilers in here, but there's a couple of juicy bits where they show them filming this scene on the rooftop, and you get to see some characters in some situations where you go, I wonder why they're doing that. But you don't know why, so it's not really spoilery. But the interviews are pretty cool too, and it's intercut with a lot of scenes from the previous seasons of Continuum. So if you're looking for new stuff, the only new stuff is them shooting the scene on the rooftop, but it's still pretty intriguing.
Yeah, this was one of those ones that's valuable because we're getting so close to the return date in Canada, also Labor Day weekend. No U.S. date announced, folks. Just to see the cast members for little sound bites, and as you said, a couple of shots of that scene they're shooting. But certainly, if you're up to date on Continuum, it's not going to spoil you on anything other than, like you said, maybe give you a little eyebrow raise to go, okay, I wonder where that fits in. But it was just cool to see the cast and the showrunner, Simon, talking again, knowing that we're that much closer to, again, finishing up this awesome show as well.
Yeah, it was cool, especially to see where they were. It looked like they were outside that big stadium in Vancouver, which I think I've been to that stadium, to see a concert. So that was kind of cool to try to spot stuff in Vancouver. And it was nice when they were on location. You could definitely tell the cool energy of the cast and the actors and the crew.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, and on the heels of Sharknado, Kevin's got some more Sharknado news.
Yeah, I'm sure you all watched Sharknado 3, right? You're all virtually nodding, going, yes, Kevin, we did. We watched it live, so it got even better ratings.
Actually, we couldn't have.
The ratings were good. Not quite as high as number 2, but they did very, very well. Draw well over, I think, 2 million viewers. So, yes, we will be getting a Sharknado 4. And if you're someone who hasn't watched it, I'll leave you to check the link. But we left one of our key characters in limbo, so that's how they're kind of doing some social media buzz to ask the fans whether that character should, live or die come the next film. And all the speculation starts now on, okay, where are they going to go? Because this one went to space and beyond. I'll leave it at that. So lots of crazy speculation on it. We don't know anything more than, yes, it's just coming next summer.
Sharks and pigs in space. Awesome. I was one that did put it on my TiVo and watched it later. So maybe that's why the live ratings were down a little bit.
It's your fault.
Yeah, and I didn't even watch it in 24 hours. It was more like 72.
Sharks in space. Yeah. I just loved Sharknado 1, 2, 3. I've watched 3 5 times since it. No, I haven't actually even seen 1, 2, or 3.
What?
Sorry.
Oh, man.
I thought you watched part of the first one, didn't you?
I might have.
Or was that Sharktopus?
No, I might have caught bits of Sharknado 1, maybe. I have no memory of it. Let's put it that way.
You've purged it from your brain. Okay, fine.
There you go.
I know I'm on an island here, folks. Trust me, I know.
Well, continuing the sci-fi theme, Wendy, you've got some news about a new show that they're picking up.
Yeah, SciFi has acquired Wynonna Earp. And if that name makes you immediately think of Wyatt Earp, it should. It's about Wyatt Earp's great-granddaughter, Wynonna. I have to confess, when I saw this, I immediately thought of Ben Browder needing to be cast when I saw the name Wynonna from that Farscape reference. But it's going to be coming. It is a contemporary Western, sort of. It actually sounds pretty good. I have to say, I was a little surprised at my reaction when I was reading about it. It's going to be all hinged around this character who is very much a offspring of Wyatt Earp. So hopefully that means there's going to be lots of action, lots of butt kicking, and some, frontier justice.
And don't forget supernatural beings. So I'm reminded a bit of Supernatural with the cult and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's going to be happening. I wondered what the sci-fi tie-in was when I saw this headline. And that's it. It's she fights supernatural beings. So when I saw it, I didn't immediately think of Wyatt Earp, although that came to mind. I immediately thought of, as you did, John Crichton. It's like, Wynonna, wow, cool. But yeah, this sounds kind of interesting. I would like to see, not only do we have a historic tie-in to a well-known person, but we get the supernatural aspect of something, which is part of Supernatural, the TV show Supernatural. That I actually enjoyed quite a bit was their time with the cult. So I would like to see more of this.
Yeah, it does sound like a very interesting premise. And one of the other things that definitely got me more interested is the showrunner that's listening, Emily Andrus, who was a showrunner on Lost Girl for a while and is also currently a producer on Killjoys. So it's got some strong pedigree behind it as well.
Yeah, definitely. As well as some of the actors. I mean, they've cast Melanie Scrofano as Wynonna Earp, and I don't recognize that name or her credits, which were from something called Damien and Gangland Undercover. But there's also going to be a Doc Holliday, who is going to be played by Tim Rosen, who was in Being Human. I think they mean the Being Human US. And Shamir Anderson, who was in Defiance and Constantine, is going to play an agent. And like you, Brent, I'm a little curious if it's going to have that sort of steampunky frontier element to it in terms of the look and feel.
Now I'm wondering if there's a Doc Holliday, if he's going to be a reanimated zombie immortal Doc Holliday, or just a descendant of Doc Holliday.
Or it's a nickname, maybe.
Yeah.
Quite possible. All right, I've got a link to something which could be a little sensitive if you are trying to avoid all Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow kind of spoilery stuff. Executive producer Mark Guggenheim recently said that something will happen in the first few episodes of Arrow that will show us the origin of one of the Legends of Tomorrow characters. This link actually tells you the details of that. I'm avoiding it here, but that's all I'm going to say.
Very well put. Very well put. We had some discussions on our crew email list about how to share this story in a non-spoilery way. So kudos to Brent for describing that very well. Yes, if you're current on Arrow and you're very interested in Legends of Tomorrow, it's very strong teasery, bordering on spoilery, depending on how much you'd like to know about where something is going that you've probably already speculated in your head.
Yeah, I think the trailers have kind of already set the table as far as the characters that are at the table, and this fills in a couple of the blanks about how one of them gets there. And I'm excited that they're going to do this crossover and tie it into Arrow, the storyline in Arrow, and I'm assuming The Flash too will be pulling some of its storyline to lead to the spinoff.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out when it airs. So use caution. Kevin, you've got a roundup of casting news for us, I think.
And by roundup, you mean a giant batch, folks. I have 8. That's right, 8 links I'm going to share here for casting for shows like iZombie, The X-Files, Sleepy Hollow, Arrow, Gotham, American Horror Story Hotel, just some of the shows we're covering here. So, again, if you're one of those folks that's sensitive to casting stuff, you're going to want to go a few minutes ahead here. I'm just going to kind of go through them and give you some quick thoughts, because it is a lot, but it's some very cool stuff. Very recognizable names and faces here. First off, as we said, iZombie. We have Adam Rose coming in to play a role in the Season 2 premiere. Those of you familiar with Veronica Mars will probably be very familiar with that gentleman. Can't say I am, but I'm very excited for iZombie, so that was great to see. On the X-Files side, they've announced that they've added Robbie Amell and Lauren Ambrose coming in as characters. Robbie, certainly you've seen from The Flash recently, and Lauren was on 6 Feet Under, so details in that link for what they'll be doing. Some very recognizable original characters from the X-Files coming back, none other than the Lone Gunmen themselves, folks. Follow that link, you'll remember quite the set of characters. Those guys were fun. Also coming to Sleepy Hollow, someone, if you've been watching Wayward Pines, you recognize. I will try not to butcher her name. Shannon Sossamon will be coming in, joining the cast as a mysterious regular. A little more info in the show notes there for that one. And then for Arrow, we've got a pretty big character that the name might be familiar to many of you from the comic background there. Baron Blitzkrieg is coming in to play character here. They've got the actor Jimmy Akingabola, I believe, if I've got close on that name, is going to be playing him. So there's a little bit more info on when that'll be happening coming up. And Gotham, I'm sure Wendy's very excited to see none other than Michael Chiklis coming in as a regular for Season 2. So it's a major role, so I'll let you take a look in the show notes if you'd like to know who he'll be playing. But obviously, very strong actor there. The American Horror Story, we've got Lily Robb, that some of you have been watching in The Whispers, but she's been a regular on American Horror Story, so some info here on her coming back. And finally, for the casting ones, another very recognizable face and name coming to Arrow, at least for no details on the length of the role, but Star Trek Voyager's Jerry Ryan is going to be coming in here. And again, take a look at the link if you want to know what her character will be kicking off. So quite a bit of recognizable faces and names coming into our shows.
Yeah, lots of good additions to shows. When I saw the news about Robbie Amell, that immediately answered the question why we haven't heard about him coming in to Legends of Tomorrow, at least initially, as part of Firestorm. So that finally filled in a puzzle piece. Lauren Ambrose, she was in 6 Feet Under. She was also in Torchwood Miracle Day, which was the bad or I call it the bad season of Torchwood that was on Stars. But another intense redhead on the X-Files. That can only be a good thing. And very excited that the Lone Gunmen actors are coming back in. When I looked at the picture of Jimmy Akingabola, I was immediately thinking young Idris Elba, which is a good thing. And I'm thrilled that Jerry Ryan is going to be on Arrow. The other one, as you mentioned, Kevin, was Michael Chiklis coming to Gotham. That is really good casting because he can be dramatic and intense. He can also be funny. And that is an element of Gotham, is this sort of dark humor that a lot of the villain characters have. So lots of good news in that roundup.
Yeah, really enjoy Michael Chiklis, so he's another reason that I might eventually mainline Gotham someday. But Jerry Ryan, very excited. My favorite casting news of the week. She's a favorite of mine ever since she was cast on Voyager 7 of 9, and it's pretty obvious she was cast for her looks. I mean, come on. But I was very impressed with her acting ability. She was really good in Voyager, and she's been really good in everything she's done since. I enjoyed her in Warehouse 13, for instance. But it's a reason that I love Arrow. You guys know that. But to have Jerry Ryan on there, just, wow. They continue their record of incredibly good casting choices on that show.
Yeah, I totally agree about Arrow's casting. I mean, they just are knocking it out of the ballpark with that. And I definitely, when she first was on Voyager, I was like, oh, geez, that's just the eye candy. But she's a good actor. I just saw her on a recent episode of Major Crimes, and I realized actually as I was watching it that she seems to play a lot of lawyers lately. So I'm hoping she's not a lawyer on Arrow.
Well, she will be a mayor, politician, pretty much the same thing, right?
Oh, I hope not.
I would have enjoyed seeing more of her back when she was on Warehouse 13, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and let's move on now. Wendy's got some information about Supernatural.
Yeah, we'll have a link in the show notes to a little sit-down that Mark Shepard and Misha Collins did with TV Line while they were at San Diego Comic-Con. It was very interesting to see Mark Shepard pretend that he's not in season 11. And I'll be very curious how he gets folded into the story. They both kind of went out of their way to talk about how season 11 is back to the family business. So I hope that's true. They also talked a little bit about some of the technicalities of filming and how things get out of order on Supernatural whenever Jensen Ackles is going to direct an episode, because they always put the episode he's going to film is the first one that they put in the production schedule. So I think he's shooting episode 3 or episode 4 as the very first one, and that kind of creates some challenges for people to sort of know where they are in the continuity of the story. And they also talked about how sometimes they'll have locations that they'll shoot way out of order, like for different episodes. And they stated that in this last season, that happened with the season finale, where they had done what's called block shooting, and it kind of messed some things up with how they were doing things, and they had to sort of reshoot and retool a little bit. So that was kind of interesting. Misha Collins has directed some films, and he's directed episodes of Supernatural too. So it was interesting to hear him talk about those kind of details.
Yeah, these guys are both funny and great together. I'd love to see them make a comedy duo with Misha Collins being the straight man to Mark Shepard.
Oh, that could totally work. Because, yeah, this was one of those interesting behind-the-scenes kind of looks at how things occur. Many of us have heard some of this, the idea of shooting out of order and so forth. But, I mean, as you said, Misha really talked about some specifics of how it occurred. And it was fun to just see Mark sit back. And when the questions were directed to him about Crowley, yeah, as you said, he could have been a politician the way he evaded some of those things.
Yeah, although I gotta say, between Misha Collins is very popular on Twitter. It's like, if he just kind of put that out there, I think there could be a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe pretty fast for a Buddy Roadshow series.
I'd probably put money in for that.
I'd give him $5 for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to round out the water cooler, as always, with the Tuner Minute. This one was recorded by me, and it's entitled Get On With It. Why do shows still take the time to slowly build up who their characters are before the story really begins? Characters these days are such archetypes or even stereotypes that I usually know all I need to know about them from the first time we see them anyway. More often than not, I don't need the show to tell me anything about them to know what I need to know about them to get into the story. Writers, showrunners, and Hollywood types, listen up. The old argument about characters are king or story is king is nonsense anyway. You need both. So why devote time in any production to just one of them? Have them both play a part from the moment you start telling your tale and never let them separate. Reveal the character's background and emotional makeup as you tell the story. We don't need to stop everything and sit in a room or on the back of a car to talk it out or to use flashbacks to tell you why that character is the way he or she is. Just get on with it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It's, and the part that I think is interesting on this is the fact that those of us who watch so much TV over the years, as you said, we just instantly make decisions and fill in the blanks on a lot of this stuff. So that's what tends to then drive our feeling of the fact we don't think it's moving fast enough, or that we tend to see only one part of it going more than the other because we have an interest. It's been funny on the Dark Matter and Killjoys, since they both started almost the exact same time, a week apart, the same time block on Friday, to see a couple of different approaches being used there. And sometimes I find one very slow and the other one I find moving very well because of that. So it's tough not to even bleed it across two different shows at the same time. And it's rare when they're able to do something where they give us something we didn't expect with the character bits because we've already started to fill it in. So I wish it would be a quicker movement on a lot of this, like you said, Brent, but I've also keep telling myself there's millions of new TV viewers just coming in now, and they're probably watching these shows, and it's some of the first shows they've watched, so it's the same approach we've had for years and years.
I totally agree that you can reveal the character by what they do, and not have to have a lot of sitting around explaining why I do what I do kind of stuff. But as Kevin said, we are trained by the TV shows we've watched. And so we are super trained. I think we're super attentive to, they did that because they want to plant this seed about the character. And we're just jumping ahead because we know where it's going. And I like when we veer. So Kevin was just talking about the most recent sci-fi episodes, and not to get spoilery, but Dark Matter did something that was interesting with one of its characters because it was presenting another aspect of this character that up until then had been a pretty cliche kind of a character. So I agree, and I also agree they could have done what we saw this week in episode 2, and it wouldn't have been too fast for me.
Yeah, but I'm not buying that argument because, Kevin and Wendy, both of you, because to my mind, the concept of spending so much time on character development prior to really, really engaging the story and putting down the pedal is a recent development. I'd say it's the last 10 years that it's so prevalent. Think back to the shows we watched as kids, Star Trek, the original series, or shows that were on in the 80s. Those all were very much tell the story, plot. You rarely got a lot of character out of it. I mean, it was very rare that you had any kind of a slowdown where you learned more about the characters because it was really bottle episodes. It was really reset buttons. It was boom, 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 boom. So, yeah, there are new people coming into television, but we were new people coming into television back in the 70s and 80s, and those shows didn't spend time on character development and slowly develop the characters. They were just into the story. So I know why they've started doing it on television, and it goes back to it's more artistic, it's more dramatic. We get comments from some big movie stars recently who said that they believe, and I don't remember the exact names, believe that the better storytelling is on television these days than in the movies, because movies have turned into what television used to be, which is just boom, 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 boom. The big blockbusters at least. And television is where you stop and you do a Sense8 or you do a Daredevil or something where you spend a lot of time on characters and it's not just boom, boom, boom. So I there's a place for it, but I just really prefer my storytelling to be engaging and moving and well-paced. I've talked about this over and over again, where you're telling the story. And if you can, the best shows ever that I've seen are ones where the story moves really well, really quickly. I'm not talking breakneck speed, but quickly. And you still learn a lot about the characters because of their actions, as Wendy pointed out. Or you learn it from very brief moments of character interaction or slowdowns, the typical movie formula where, there's this act and then they have to slow down and the hero is stuck in a room with somebody talking about, what's going on and everything's quiet and then it just goes crazy again sort of thing. That kind of works too. But I don't like the new fad of let's spend half this series just slowly revealing the characters and talking and figuring out who they are, and then start doing stuff. And I'm thinking of Sense8 as an example of that, where it is very slow in the beginning. Several episodes. I mean, every episode has a little bit of action, but it's the first 5-6 episodes of that show is 90% character. just talking and exposing who the characters are and exposition and backstory and interactions and very little action. And it gets better at the end. And it's a well done story. It's really good. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the ride. But when I rewatch it, and I'm rewatching it now for the ratings, I'm skipping so much because I know what happened in there and it's not engaging to me. It's not interesting. I already learned it. So I'm just, part of me as a viewer who loves that kind of storytelling is just frustrated with Hollywood that it's become kind of the fad.
Maybe there's just a case of, in the last, as you said, 10 years or so, the good TV writers just are folks who aren't as good with the story and therefore focus on the character parts instead?
No, I don't agree with that. I think it's definitely deliberate that the writers are thinking, I have, 10 to 13 to 22 episodes to take the character on a journey. And maybe in the past, all of the journey was through the plot. And now the way they're telling this story is not necessarily just through the plot, but because the place where I get bothered by when we seem to have things that are done purely to have character development is when they sort of send people off on side missions. So it gives them something to do, but it doesn't really seem to be connected to the story, and it's to reveal something about the characters. Those bug me. I can't comment on Sense8 because I haven't watched it yet, but I definitely have heard many actors talk about liking to work in television because they get the time to develop a character and have that character go through these beats. I was recently listening to William Hurt talking on the Tavis Smiley show, and he was talking about Humans and his character in Humans, and how one of the things he looks for as an actor, like in every script, is always that critical moment that's happening for the character. Like things are leading to a point and they're taking the character to an emotional state. And then, it's like riding waves, to paraphrase sort of how he described it. So I think that's really attractive to actors. Because a movie is very slow to put together compared to a TV show. So maybe their perception is, because the time is limited, maybe they think it's happening much quicker than when it all gets put together.
I can see your point about actors, but one thing I need to emphasize is I'm not saying just action, just plot, no character development. I'm saying both. And all somebody has to do is look at a show like Continuum. There is a perfect example of a show that moves the story along and also has incredible character moments and character development. You cannot honestly go interview Rachel Nichols and say, do you wish you were in a show that had, a lot more slower character development scenes where you could really get in? And she'd just laugh at you because look at her. I mean, look at the character that she developed. That character has so much emotion and you know so much about her and so much depth, but that show is kicking butt on telling the story. It doesn't bog itself down. That's what I'm getting at. I don't like being bogged down just for character development. I'm not saying don't ever do character development. I want character development. I want to get to know these characters more than the archetype that going in. And Continuum is another great example of that. There was an archetype for her character, Kira Cameron, when that show started, and you're like, okay, I think I know who this character is. Not who this character was. Developed over the course of the seasons because they told the story and they had time to develop the character. That's what I want. Look at, if you bring up a textbook example, bring up Continuum. That's the kind of storytelling I want, Hollywood.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to vary a lot by the shows because sometimes the showrunners want to immerse you in a world or in the atmosphere, and they're going to take time to do that. So there might not be that much happening while that occurs. And the show I'm thinking of that does that is Hannibal. Hannibal would probably drive you nuts because there's a lot of dreamlike stuff that happens that doesn't pay off even sometimes, but it's beautiful to watch. So, I think this is a case where, showrunners and writers have different things they really want to hit when they're trying to craft what their show is. I don't think either Kevin or I are saying we shouldn't have character development or, we want the pace to slow down. It's really tough, though, I think, for writers to make sure that they have a consistent pace from week to week. Continuum is a great example where I think that showrunner's got so much more story in his back pocket that he's able to pack Continuum with a really good pace of storyline. Whereas a lot of other shows, I don't know how much they had sort of when they walked in the door. Maybe that was a case with Sense8.
Good point. All right, well, I think that about wraps us up for the water cooler. Great discussion. Love to hear from you guys, so please let us know your thoughts on this particular topic. As you can tell, I'm a little passionate about it. But we're going to head on over now to our spoiler-filled back porch. Today we talk about Defiance, Humans and Killjoys. First up on the back porch, I'm going to talk about last week's episode of Defiance. This is, my name is Datak Tar, and I have come to kill you. And you killed my father, and prepare to die. This had some interesting flashbacks to Datak's youth. I love the fact that the same actor who plays Datak played his father. A little bit different makeup, so that he looked a lot like him, but you could also kind of believe it was his father. Back on his home planet, and we learn a little bit more about Datak's growing up and the fact that his father was, I don't know if he was a holy man or librarian, whatever it was, but he was like protecting the scrolls when the planet was going to be destroyed. He wanted to stay and preserve the scrolls, and Datak, teenage or young adult Datak pointed out, the planet's going to be destroyed, Dad. You come with me. But he was very into that, and the whole idea of that blade that Datak has, the fact that it was passed down from his father, he was playing with it as a kid. That was just some great stuff. Learning more about Datak, it actually made me sympathize more with Datak than I ever have before, which was interesting since it looked like he was on the rack to die in this episode, and later on, it comes to the point where they decide that they need to send somebody to basically on a suicide mission to contain a beacon to draw the net into the camp of the VC who have camped nearby, and the obvious solution, as Alec points out, is his father, because he's already a condemned man. He's given an offer by Amanda to not only preserve his family's honor by pardoning him and his wife Stama, if she's ever found, of the crimes, so that there's honor is restored, and he does this to help the town and definitely restore honor. It's a redemption for him, and he agrees. And the whole time he's going into the camp, I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's going to betray them. Is he not going to betray them? I don't know what's going to happen here. Is he sincere? Is he not sincere? Because Datak, he's always a schemer. And then when he starts, offering, ways to prove his loyalty, I'm like, no, you bastard, you're gonna tell him about it, and they're gonna disable this thing, and it's not gonna work. And no, he cuts his arm off with his blade, because the beacon is in the arm. And he does that to show, to prove his loyalty, and it convinces the leader that he's definitely doing it, Ramtak, that he's loyal. And then I love his excuse, like, my arm, I'm really in pain. Can I be alone for a minute? And he goes out of the tent while everybody's laughing and looking at the arm and having a good old time. And he basically just hightails it the heck away from the camp as fast as he can before the explosion. And sure enough, the camp seems to be destroyed. We clearly see Ramtak vaporized or burnt to a crisp. So there's no chance that the bad guy is still alive, which I like. I don't like it when shows leave that kind of ambiguous. But at the end, we get this pan, and we find out that Datak had managed to get into a ditch behind a rock, and you think he might be dead because he's motionless, and then this big smile forms on his face. He's missing his arm, but he's alive for another day. Datak has managed to find a way to win in this situation as well. Very clever. There's a lot of stuff also with Stama. I think, Wendy, you were right. I thought she was on the ship, and in this one, it almost looked like she was on the ship until the very end when we saw that she and the daughter were in this kind of, state where they were not really their astral projection almost, but through technology, where they're actually on the ship, and the daughter's revealing the secrets. And it turns out the father, the Olmec father, is, confronts the daughter and says, that was my initial plan, was to take over the world, take over the earth, and, basically turn everybody into cattle. But he's changed his mind, that, he's learned to appreciate what's here, and then these, there's good people here and so forth. And earlier, of course, he saves that mother and her kids by basically biting the neck out of the VC spy who's come to kill them, the humans. So Good stuff. I love Arissa in this one too. She really does step up. Says she's not going to freeze this time, and she doesn't. And when Alec is shot and her father is fighting the guy, the spy, and actually has a knife to his neck and about to get his throat cut, Arissa doesn't freeze, and she saves her father, which I thought was just really great stuff. But yeah, I'm going to let you guys talk about what you liked about this episode, but there was a lot of good stuff in here.
Oh, there really was, both plot-wise and character-wise, to go back to your tune a minute a little bit, because it's seeing how resourceful Daytak is to be able to come up with that plan of cutting his own arm off to avoid dying. Man, I just have to tip my hat to him. So, I mean, I we all love to hate him. And the backstory on him was interesting, but it was seeing him being willing to take the mission for the sake of Stama and still thinking he's got a way to keep himself alive, and he does pull it off. So that was just very interesting. I mean, it really was. And very natural to the story. It didn't feel like just a plot contrivance to keep a key character on. So I had to hand it to him. I also thought the rest of the bits where the whole spy, was able to kill most of their militia people, and then had the fight with, he shot Alak, but then the fight with Nolan and with Arissa it was painful. It was painful to watch, and because of having a real investment in the characters here, and Nolan especially thinking, he's got some info. They're madly outnumbered, and maybe doing this will give him an upper hand, and it totally backfires. And he's now going to have to go back. We'll probably get a scene of him having to tell the father, one of those militia people, that it was his mistake that got his son killed. So brutal consequences, physical. Alak is getting so much more engaging and interesting as a character. Like you said, Brent, he's the one who suggested his dad is the one to send into the camp because it made perfect sense, completely. So it just really fascinating stuff, very interesting stuff. Defiance is just so strong this season. It's a show I've wanted it to be for years, and liked it but didn't love it. But each episode, certainly this season, has been just dripping with awesome stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. This season, the writing has been so tight in terms of progressing the story and, doing something interesting with almost every character every week. And I totally agree about Alak. They've developed his character finally into a character that's interesting. And, he's definitely got some of the DNA of his parents in terms of coming up with ruthless ideas. Let's send Dad in. I was actually wondering if he was going to be dead after the spy shoots him, because then Nolan's carrying his body, and I was like, oh, maybe he's dead. And then I also definitely props to the actor who plays Daytak when he was playing his father. I really liked that they didn't go with him having a father who was sort of even worse than he was, that was more like the Ram Tak. He was instead someone who seemed to be really thoughtful, and I have, these honorable cultural ideals that he was trying to stand up for, and so that was really nice that was the guy. And I loved how they tied in that knife, because I remember the first time he used that knife in season 1, and it's definitely part of him, and I thought that they did a great job with making that sort of this touchstone for the character in this episode, and then using that knife to be, the mechanism for him to live through that plan. And risky plan, the plan to go through the cave was a really risky plan. Nolan talked about that with Amanda, and, the people died because it was a risky plan. So I like that. I really like that this season the stakes are high and they're not getting it right all the time. So I really like that. The Olmec daughter thing is interesting because her plan is to, let Stama in on what their big plot is so that her father will kill Stama, and he doesn't kill her. And I like that, Stama's sort of using her little water drops to have an impact on him. But when she talks to him, he's sort of like, look, I can see when you're trying to use your cast of thin charms on me, and, this only works so far, and he kind of puts her in check. She only half succeeds with him at each moment, which I like, because she isn't just rolling over him like she can do with other characters sometimes. So lots of good stuff. The only piece that surprised me was no Berlin. I guess she really has left town. I was sort of expecting there'd be a reason why she'd have to come back to help out, and there doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, that is surprising, because I thought that the battle with Romtok would last longer. She would come back at the end, and she might be the one to do the sacrificing or something, but it looks like that particular battle is over. It doesn't mean the battle with the VC's over. He was just a general, and I don't think he was the ultimate leader, and that was the entire VC, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's true. They have hinted at, a bigger organization behind him.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Well, Wendy, you're going to talk to us about Humans.
Yeah, so Humans had a lot of interesting story progression this week. I'll call her the runaway synth, definitely ups her violence game. She goes in search of a place where they're basically using synths like cockfighting or Fight Club. Humans can go in and basically beat the crap out of a synth if they want to in this ring, but she turns the tables and actually starts beating up all the humans and killing some of them and causing mayhem, and also, I guess I would say, mercy killing the synths that have all been damaged as part of the fighting. So now she's definitely coming into alignment with the storyline of the detective. The detective has been benched from work, and his wife isn't really happy to have him around the house, and comes to the realization that she'd rather have her therapist synth than him, so he gets the boot, goes to sleep on his partner's couch at the office, and then she invites him to sleep on her couch at home. And it seems like things might be getting a little bit romantic with them. And then you have this crazy reveal that the partner, by basically pulling her stomach out, is a synth. She's not human. So I was like, whoa, did not see that coming at all. We also have, more of the sort of testing of Anita and trying to figure out what's going on with her. Some really creepy stuff with Joe, who turns on Anita's adult mode and has sex with her. I guess technically it isn't rape, but it was really creepy. It was like blow-up doll sex or something. I don't know. That was really well done, that it was definitely squirmish the whole time I was watching that whole interaction with those characters. Joe and Laura's relationship is fracturing quite a bit. He doesn't trust Laura. He actually uses Anita to sort of stalk her to find out if she really went where she said she did. And Laura actually went to talk to a woman who her synth had been sort of expressing more human-like attributes, and Laura went to see what it was, but then she realized that relationship wasn't sort of the same scenario as Anita. So there's the thing I like about this show is there's sort of these interesting gray areas with the ideas about how human these synths are and sort of the scale of how human-like they can be. We also had Leo and Max, who were sort of listening for intel about Anita. They had gotten the data that Maddie pulled out of Anita's head from the internet, and they set up a meeting, and Maddie gets freaked out by Leo, who is kind of weird. Turns out he is human. He's the son of the creator of the synths, whose name I do not remember. I just keep thinking of him as Dr. Noonianson. But he's also clearly got some enhancements that are not human, but more mechanical. They end up going in search of some of the folks that were colleagues of his father's, and they end up at William Hurt's house because he was on the team. And it turns out that this Leo character is the son of this guy, which we didn't know. And I think somehow, those stories are going to intersect, even though it looked like they were sort of running off at the end of their scene. So I like how sort of these characters that have all been sort of isolated are starting to come together a lot in this show.
Yeah, I had this crazy theory, and I wish I had expressed it on the podcast so that I could say, see, I knew what I was talking about, but I kind of suspected the detective partner might have been a synth, just because of the way she was behaving. In every situation, the way she looked, too. She looked kind of mechanical, her motions were a little mechanical, but she was still human enough that I was like, well, maybe she's just a really stiff, awkward person. So it actually, when I saw her pulling the liner out of her stomach and dumping the food that she had just eaten with her partner at home, I was like, yeah, I was waiting for her to plug herself in too, but when I saw that, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, this makes total sense. So not only are Anita, Mia, Niska types not the small number we see, there are apparently others, at least the detective partner. They may have been out for a while. I mean, Mia turns out is 14 years old at least. When she's analyzed, when Laura takes her in. So they've been out there for a while, and this partner seems to be even better than Niska when she dons her contacts and goes out to pretend to be human. She's still a little stiff at times, but the partner seems to be a little better at it. So I also, by the way, I love to see the guest role of Laura's legal partner, Fiona, played by Naoko Mori, I think is pronounced her name. She played Tosh on Torchwood. I'd love to see her back. That was fun. But the police detective wife splitting was interesting. And what's really interesting is if somehow the police detective does develop any kind of romantic feelings for his partner, you've got the two of them splitting and having romantic feelings about two synths, which is interesting. Leo, yeah, it was an interesting reveal to the police when they determined that they believed he was human because he was bleeding, so they decided to DNA test. And Wendy, I'm not sure if you're right or I'm right here, but I'm pretty sure the results that we saw in the DNA report was that the DNA was a perfect match for his father, not him. So I don't know if he was actually a son who has cybernetic implants or if he was something fashioned using the DNA of the father. So I don't know. I guess that does make him a son too in some regards, but I thought that was a pretty interesting reveal. But the using Anita, Joe activating the Anita romantic functions was kind of creepy. You're right. As was the party scene, where the teenage boys were turning off the bot and were going to take her upstairs and essentially rape the body of the bot. And I love the sister pointing out that, hey, is it okay to take an unconscious woman up and rape her? Why do you think that's okay? And they're like, she's a synth. Yeah, is she really? You're doing it because she looks like a woman. So it was a really good scene there as well. But I love, again, Anita's little hints are coming out that she is much more aware of what she is than she's leading on. Like, when Joe uses her to track Laura, she initially states that she can't say where Laura's going because she can't, tap into the emails. It's against the rules. She can't tap into the schedule, the calendar. And so all she's doing is reporting the GPS coordinates. And then when Joe, it's pretty clear to Anita that Joe is convinced that she's cheating on him or something. Anita breaks her own rules and says, that she's intercepted a record saying that she's going to meet this woman about work. So that calms Joe down. So there's a little bit of Anita sneaking out there. And then, of course, after the sex bit was not only with Anita and Joe, was not only, it was awkward, kind of creepy to begin with, but afterwards, I don't know if you noticed this, Wendy, but Anita had completely different body language. She literally would not make eye contact with Joe. When she was talking, when he was asking questions, saying, do you need to clean up and stuff like that? It seemed to be awkward to her as well, which I thought was very interesting. The meetup with Maddie, Leo and Max meeting up with Maddie was pretty cool, with her realizing, because now she knows, that she also knows. I mean, Laura and Joe found out that Anita is actually at least 14 years old, but now Maddie knows that there's these other people who say that she's theirs and that she was stolen and they're looking for her. So the hidden message that was in the code, and they went to George Millican to get it out. Not sure what that means, although when Leo uploaded it to his brain, so again, another argument that he's not really a cybernetic human, but he's a synth with human skin, potentially. I think all he said was the one word life was the answer when he was asked by by Max what it meant. So that's pretty interesting too. But I love the Niska stuff, and I love her use of the nail gun to dispatch the ones that put him out of the misery, but also her use of the nail gun to get away from the thugs who were sent after her and putting to the head of one of them and then nailing his hand to the wall and just walking off. So again, Niska continues to be one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character of the show.
This was at least for me so far, this is the episode that finally got me very much interested in the show. And you two covered the plot points and the whys, from both fascinating to mystery to well-done performances, that fine line between human and synth. And now we're seeing potentially between the police partner and Leo that there's many different types of synths or levels they could be potentially if he is one, and that means there could be a lot more, and how can they tell which ones are and aren't? Fascinating stuff now becomes a lot more interesting for me based on what happened in this episode too, and the idea that they need to get them all together based on that hidden code that he had. So it really was, in a lot of ways. This, for me, finally was the one where I went, okay, now I get why people are very much on board. This has got a lot of fascinating stuff happening that's not just, shall we say, and I called it myself, a little slow, but interesting now to be, wow, just each scene I was getting more stuff that got my mind going to start thinking in different directions and who's going to find out what first and how they're going to use it. Could really spin this story in a lot of different directions. So, very, very good. Very much a game changer for me as far as my interest in the show.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad, because you had sort of seemed like, yeah, I'm watching this show, but I'm not getting as excited about it as Brent and I have been. I do agree that Anita seems like she is responding to the emotional state of Laura or Joe, when he's thinking for sure that Laura's out cheating, and she reads the calendar and says, this seems to be the appointment that's in her calendar that seems like a work appointment. And the Leo character, I think you raised a good question. I'm more thinking he's like a prototype where he's actually more human, and they were sort of adding parts to a human to see sort of how far they could go, maybe. I don't know why I think that. I'm also wondering if the detective that's the synth, if she already knows who these other synths are. And all along she's known that or not. So it'd be very interesting if she runs into one of them finally.
It's also interesting if I'll call him the big bad, the guy who seems to be in charge of hunting them down, not the detective, but the other one. It'd be interesting to find out if he knows what she is. Maybe she's working for him.
He talked to her. Remember, he showed up at the crime scene, right? Yeah. And he didn't seem to react. You mentioned that guy because last week we were talking about how he interviewed a guy, and he had a photo of a guy, and I was like asking, is that supposed to be like young William Hurt or something? He had really long hair, and it's not, but it's the actor who I've just seen him a lot because he plays a character on Jonathan Strange. He plays sort of the raving weird magician who randomly pops up, and he was Thoros of Myr in Game of Thrones. So I don't think he's supposed to be William Hurt. I guess he's his own character, but he sure looks like him.
All right, and to wrap out this long episode here, we're going to have Kevin talk about Killjoys.
Yeah, we're talking about episode number 6, One Blood. And I think this is the one we had a nice, interesting spin on the story, and definitely a lot more about Dutch's background here. So, along with being a very fun show, they're definitely filling in story and plot items quite a bit. It was fun where we basically have a story that's a chance to just meet a lot more of the Killjoys. I would have enjoyed seeing more of them, but they basically all got called in. Black Warrant, as they called it, I believe. Only top Killjoys are allowed because the hunt was on for basically a rogue Killjoy. So I kind of like that idea of getting them all together and sending them on a mission. I hope we get to meet more of the other Killjoys maybe later in the season. So I must admit I hadn't given much thought to that beyond our set of 3. So that's why this one kind of got me thinking about that. But we're also, in this episode, picking up from where we ended last one, where Dutch's mentor, if you want to call him that. I'm not sure what else to call him, father figure, trainer. Killian there had kind of, put her on the spot that she had to help him because he was threatening basically Johnny and Davin. He's the one who tells her, yes, this is what I need your help on. What this guy has, this Killjoy that's rogue, has stolen something, is what you need to get from me. So not only does she, I don't know if you want to say betray, but certainly eludes Johnny and Davin by going off ahead of them on her own. She's also got to beat out the other Killjoys. So, and this guy that she's hunting down is her mentor from the Killjoy side of things. So it was interesting to see her try to deal with that. She's trying to find a way to avoid the warrant that's out there, knowing it's probably not going to work out well, but she just feels committed to him while she's still got Killian in her ear and a virtual mind meld or something to be able to go along with her on this trip. So we don't know what it is they're hunting down. And when eventually they come to find it is when things, certainly for me, I thought got very interesting. I mean, the mentor guy, Big Joe, I think was his name, was fine. He was a good actor in the role, kind of the typical thing you'd expect. She wanted to do the best for him. He had decided not to put up with stuff, and it was a weapon that was very dangerous, so he felt it was, he had to kind of take things under his own advisement for the sake of everyone. But we didn't know what this weapon thing would be till we saw it play out when there was a family there that had kind of surrounded them and all. And when they were touching this device, one of them cut themselves and got some blood on it. And when they set it off, it actually killed all the members of that family, the blood that they'd sampled, but didn't touch anyone else like Dutch and these other folks. So that was very fascinating because this whole idea of this universe and the families and the 9, and you've got a weapon that can literally be used to sample blood and then kill all the members within a certain range. I have no idea how far. We saw like a pulse go out from it, but that was a fascinating bit of things there. So that was pretty cool, and that can have some other ramifications on the whole other sides of the story here. The whole, Black Warrant, the idea of Big Joe, Dutch tries to find another angle on this idea when she gets her hands on the weapon of bringing him back and maybe trying to trade some mercy for him by giving the weapon to the higher-ups. I mean, most of us kind of knew this is probably not going to go well, and sure enough, it doesn't, because the company isn't going to go for this. There's too much downside to getting information out about this. So when the warrant gets upgraded right there in the bar with everyone sitting there, and the guy's asking Dutch to be the one to pull a trigger because, it's moved up to like a level 5, so it's a kill order. It was tough. You could see Dutch. There's no way she could do it. She wanted to, but couldn't. And our other guy becomes kind of fascinating. We saw him way, way back. I think his character name is Fancy Lee, the guy who's as he said, everyone needs one in the group, the a-hole, is the guy who has to do it. So, I mean, that was kind of routine, but I thought still pretty well done. Very true to these characters. Add in the fact, too, that we have this kind of the B storyline here of the doctor that Davin likes there, Potter, trying to make a move on, getting one of the company folks there both drunk and then using some drugs so she could get his access to his little device to search the company databases for that doctor that Davin's been looking for, but she gets found out about, is going to have some ramifications, I think, going forward, too. So I like that we got a lot of fun stuff, but also some really good plot stuff moving here, too.
Yeah, I like the character of the old Killjoy and the idea that they were all going to hunt for him. There were some nice moments with him and Dutch, once she finds him, and they're sort of fighting, rolling around all over the ground with each other. It looked like that was really the actors for most of that. I also like seeing, it looked like the actor from Continuum who played Jason was the one family member who had married into the family, so his blood connection let him live when the pulse weapon went off. And as you mentioned, I did like that they brought back the Asian Killjoy guy, and I'm assuming he's going to be a continuous thorn in their side as we go along. I wasn't really liking the whole stuff with the doctor, and it really wasn't in this episode, but it was the trailer for next week where I was like, seriously, they're going to put Davin and Dutch together? I really hope that was just misdirection from the trailer, because I really don't want that to be a big focus of this show. And I was not really expecting it, but in this episode, Davin basically gives the doctor the brush off, too. So it's interesting. The one thing I really liked was at the end when Dutch finally tells the brothers about this mentor and that she needs their help. And, we're finally going to get over the secret.
Well, Dutch is in kind of a raw emotional state after deciding she's going to hunt down and kill her mentor. So it's probably a one-night, fling sort of thing. Hopefully that happens between them. But, I love the scene where, Dutch basically confronts him and the mentor and at the end and actually starts stabbing him. And I like the reaction of him just kind of standing there and taking it and then kind of walking off. And I'm like, man, so there's some mental toughness there to be able to just walk when you have a couple of stab wounds in your gut. And again, Dutch's statement at the end that they're going to hunt him down and she says she's going to kill him when she sees him. I really want to know. And we learn a little bit more about her being born into a harem. I didn't know she was born into a harem. That adds a bit of element to this. I know that she was, in some kind of, I almost thought it was like a school for children or something, but to realize that she's the daughter of an enslaved, sex slave, basically, is very interesting. But yeah, and I liked how the Killjoy who actually killed the older Killjoy, through Dutch's line right back at her. The warrant is all.
Now, I had a thought on her, Killian, the guy who, we see her when she was younger. You say the stab wounds, and he didn't seem to really be affected by it. Is that mental toughness, or is he some type of non-human, or just, I don't want to say in her head, but not truly as we think he is?
I don't know. I got the impression that he felt it, but was able to put it aside. So I got the impression she really stabbed him.
Yeah, that seemed real to me. He seemed like a real person to me.
Okay. All right. I just wasn't sure. Yeah, but it's going to, I get the concern. I mean, heck, going back a couple episodes, even Johnny's been the one saying, Davin, don't, we know Dutch is attractive and all, but this is our family thing. I think his line was even, don't plow our sister. So, I mean, I hope they don't go there either.
One night fling. That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up. Extra long episode again, as always, folks. We like to get as much show talk as we can in the main show for you, so we hope you appreciate that. I want to thank Kevin and Wendy for being here every week and for you listening in as well. Talk to you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
We offer several ways for you to get in touch with us. If you come to our website at tuningintoscifitv.com, you can leave a comment on any of our blog posts. There's also a link there over to our discussion forums. You can send us email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com. You can leave us voicemail by dialing 206-202-4182, or also on Skype at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi, or visit our Facebook fan page by following the link on our website.
Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 346, recorded July 25th, 2015.